Hello everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. I just gotta something fix real quick. Alright. How are you guys doing? Welcome back to another Friday live stream. It's been a while. What do you mean jazz? Jazz today? We're gonna do something with pianos though today. It's gonna be fun. But let me quickly get this all ready. Now, come on. I'll reconnect this. There we go. Alrighty. Welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Friday live stream. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm certainly doing well. I'm actually really excited for the next couple coming weeks. There's a bunch of new stuff that I want to talk about. And not only that, oops, wait, I gotta fix one thing real quick. Ooh, the chat just came in like that. Holy crap. Let me fix, nope, that was the wrong one. Fix something real quick. I accidentally jumped out of my camera. There we go. Fixed it. Right. But yeah, there's been a lot going on. I'm finally in the other apartment. So the old apartment is now gone. I'm finally done with that stuff. No more sirens. And especially no more mold. But okay, sweet. More importantly, a bunch of new stuff, and with that comes a bunch of really cool contract libraries that I wanted to show you. On top of that, 2 new Snappy racks and a new Ableton rack that's out on the Patreon. The sample pack is still under work, and on top of that, a new plugin that will make PITCHMAP and RETUNE just better. Oh, and another new plugin, which is actually part of a hardware synth, which hopefully I'll be able to cover this month, because this thing is going to be, I feel like this is going to be the synth for us EDM producers. It's going to be the synth. And that particular plugin has a VST kind of version of it, a digital version of it, and then I was able to get a little copy of it and test it out today, and man, this thing is crazy. But also another new thing is I got myself a Native Instruments Complete Audio A49. Let me grab a quick little picture here. I'll drag this literally just onto the the screen. I'll just save it on the desktop. That's hilarious. Let's try and see if that works. Let me add an input, image, add source, and then desktop. Does that work? Yeah. So this thing, I got myself, I could have just switched to screen display. I got myself this keyboard this month, and I was actually thinking about getting the S49, which has like 2 screens on it, so you can like browse for libraries and stuff, but it was like, that's like $650 just for the screens. And this is 175. I think it was probably off too, a little bit because of Black Friday. So I hope you guys have all been getting stuff on Black Friday, because that's always a good... Oh, sweet, a donation. Hello, Tovin. Thank you very much for the donation. I appreciate that. Yes, I'm glad to be back. Let me just get all the screens ready here. But I am not really a piano player. As you guys know, I use some techniques and stuff, and I also like using some humanization with Midi and all that kind of stuff. But I don't think you necessarily have to be able to play instruments to be able to produce music that sounds good. And what I've actually done with this piano is I've decided to, since I still can't play chords really, I'm really bad at that. What I've done is I've taken half of the piano, so half of the keys right there, and those trigger chords, and then the other half trigger just normal notes. So I can actually play chords, chord progressions, and play a note on top, which is kind of OP. And I'll explain why, because you can essentially just add your own little flavor to each chord with another like couple of top notes that you can just decide yourself. But another thing that I found is a really, really fucking great Maxo Live device that I want to talk about that comes that doesn't come with this or anything like that, but I found it, and it's really cool. So that being said, I'd say we start into this, we jump into this, and I also want to talk about free native instruments. Yes, native instruments devices or instruments. Yeah, native instruments complete. Contact instruments, there you go, that I got myself during Black Friday because I didn't really get myself anything else. The piano runs Crisis for sure. It's really bulky, but it's really nice. So with that being said, I'd say we switch the project, and yeah, we'll get started with this this week's production live stream. Well, I mean, just normal live stream. Let me just figure out how all this works again. Sweet. So we are back in Ableton. Please go full screen. Thank you. This is a little thing that I actually did, I think 2 days ago. This is some like old 100 BPM mid-tempo kind of complextro stuff. And you guys obviously heard it in the intro. This was really fun to make because this is all just Serum. So the drums here, and I'll play this again. You can hear some really like old school sounds in this. I think it was this one. And actually almost all of these are just using my complex wavetables, funnily enough. And so the drums here, it's just end kick gen XT and snare gen XT. So I just randomized the kick and snare there, and then I added some cymbals and top loops. Sidechain those so together. Some back effects. A pad and a art. Just trying to get that kind of like old vibe back in. And then we've got some chord stacks. Some top melody. And then we just get to like all the synths. It's all just very basic Serum and Power Rack, which by the way I will probably give an update soon. I will give the Power Rack an update because the soft clipper in here is just a regular soft clipper, and I actually want to implement Smart Clip into Power Rack, so you guys can just use this as an overall kind of thing. But this was super fun because especially like sounds like these, just like these growls and stuff. Just really basic stuff, but it's really simple and still sounds great. Especially this one right here. This is just like a bandpass with lots of resonance and then going into distortion. Lots of great stuff. It's really simple, really, those like older sounds. Also, excuse my voice because I actually had a little cold. I think I had a little flu or something for like a week. Having the keyboard to just spam some stuff is cool. Yeah, for sure. But one little thing that you can do actually is instead of using like a vocoder, for example, to bring up like weird background noise, you can just use literal like noise in your serum patch. So I'm just using noise. Just normal pink noise stereo in here to just kind of bring that up with the OTT. And another thing about EmpowerRACK for both Snappeep and Ableton is that you can actually have the time go negative, well, not negative, but just go towards 10%, and then you actually don't need free OTTs. It sounds like, if you turn this down, it just sounds like it has free OTTs on it. It's just a bit cleaner too. So you get more dynamic range compression instead of having to like, just add a full OTT. But if you guys want this to be like a proper track, I think I can definitely keep working on this and make it into a thing. But now, let's talk about one of the really exciting things is my little decisions on what I got for Black Friday, which was obviously the keyboard with like a little keyboard stand, which is really, really nice. And then a couple of native instrument stuff. And I really want to talk about one of these, which is Playbox. I think this came out roughly like a year ago, I think like, or like 8 months ago, something like that. And it's highly overlooked. And I think the reason why it's highly overlooked is because people kind of just used it in this like fully randomized way. And just using it that way will, you know, especially if you create a certain genre, there's going to be a bigger margin of results that just don't quite work for whatever you want to do. But you can set this up in a way that totally works for you. And I'm going to show you how this thing works. But what I'll do first is talk about the other two things that I've got myself. So if you guys have seen my live streams, I'll actually turn on this little golden thing here. This golden helmet. Should be on, right? Nope. No way. Okay, a second. There we go. Sweet. Alrighty. So you guys know that I used to use the Grandeur, the Maverick, and the Gentleman. So if I load these in, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my keyboard. That's the keyboard right there. Yes, very skilled. I can, hello Affinity. I can just play normal chords. Like that. That's the only thing I can do. It's like 2 octaves down with 1 note. And then like just every second white note. But these are kind of the free pianos that I used to use. And then you could change the lid down. You could turn it to soft. Actually, you can turn up the dynamic range too, which makes them sound quite nice. But I've recently decided to, you know, instead of like looking for, you know, something really expensive like keyscapes, I decided to look at native instrument stuff because they had a bunch of sales. And I found 2 pianos that I found were perfect. The Gentleman Maverick and the Grandeur are great. They're great sounding pianos, especially for pop and EDM. They're great. But there's one specific piano that really stood out to me, actually 2 of them. One is more of an all-rounder, and the other one is a very, very kind of acoustic, kind of very texturized piano. And it's called Noir. This piano is dope. And I usually just use the felt one, because if I want a piano that is soft, but has a lot of expression, this thing is ridiculous. So let me show you. This is the Noir felt piano. I'll go back to here. And then I go back. So that's what it sounds like. And what's really cool about these pianos is that these settings aren't just like EQs, right? So the color, tonal shift, and dynamics, those aren't just like normal compressors or EQs. So if I play a note, if I change the color, This may sound like an EQ, but it's actually doing a lot more. And then the tonal shift is insane. So this thing, if I usually have the color down, the tonal shift up, and then dynamic range down. And now if I play a chord, it just sounds amazing. And then on top of that, you actually get a really, really cool feature in here, which is called sub. If you turn that on, the sub notes that you play, watch this. I'm going to turn it off. I think I have to go out an octave lower. Probably have to just turn it up a little bit. Here we go. You get sub with this, like a really low sub. So for example, if we just do a quick, now this is kind of cheesy, but I'll do a quick major chord with a -24, 7, 16, and a 4. I'll play something like this. Also a bit too loud now. Kind of went a little bit too ahead of myself. Still too loud. That's really nice. And then on top of that, they actually have this really cool particles engine. And if you enable that one, it's almost like a kind of pad generator of sorts. It's not a pad, but it basically just generates notes in a consistent kind of rhythm on the chord that you're playing. So if I play just a normal chord, it's a bit quiet, so let me push this up a little bit. Gab, 1 second. Ist du meins erstmal. So it just kind of like generates these notes in a specific rhythm. Let's make it a little bit faster. Let's go to like 140. This is that. Isn't that sick? Excuse me if I'm gonna cough quite a lot. So that's what you can do with this. And then if we change the tonal shift around, how cool is that? So that is Noir Felt, and it's honestly a lovely sounding piano. Especially if, let's go up like 2 octaves here. Sounds amazing, and I feel like it's a little bit more high quality than the other 2 pianos, the other 2 Native Instruments pianos, or the other 3 actually, which are down here. This one just has a lot more care and time kind of put into it. And then the other one that I really, really like is Una Corda. And Una Corda is really special because it's a very different kind of piano. So I'll play this for you. So I have to turn the color down a little bit, dynamic range down a little bit. Oh, I think we're 1 too low on the lower octave. So this is una chord of felt. And you can actually go in here and, like, for example, add this like fabric layer to it. And you can add a bunch of other stuff here, mechanical sounds too, on the, for example, on the note off. So all of these pianos are really, really nice. And let's turn off the chord mode here and just play some higher notes, just so you can kind of hear the texture of this piano. So I'll go ahead and turn some of the mechanical down, the fabric. The velocity is really sensitive on this keyboard right now, so I'm going to turn the drive up a little bit. So it's a really nice sounding. That's the post post-cold sore throat that I'm having. Excuse me if I have to drink quite a lot. Hey Nasco, just wanted to say the face correct frequency splitting you did in your latest Ableton RACKS was awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Props, really awesome piano, but only for specific situations. Yes, so that's the una chord is honestly for very specific situations, as you said. Especially if you play it really softly. It's such a nice sounding, like at low velocity. It's such a nice sounding piano. I think I messed that chord up. Like, just play it really softly and just listen to how amazing it is. And I just distort it because I'm stupid. Okay, there we go. Cool. So una chord for very specific situations. Noir is going to be my new kind of like standard piano from now on. And now Playbox. God, my throat is dying. I'm not ready to be talking this much. So Playbox, how does this thing work? Basically, I'm just going to play it for you. So Playbox is a multi-sampler. And what it essentially does, it has a library of samples. I think it's around 900 samples. And you can play chords with a single note. Has all the white notes too. It's quite easy to use, and you can see that all the different samples are being kind of represented in different icons here. But what's really, really crazy about Playbox is the effects section. They have nailed this effects section. The stuff that they have in here, like granulizers, lo-fi effects, really cool compressors. It's not like just like your cookie cutter kind of like standard stuff. They actually have like really good shit in here. And so you can just this is the chord section right here. But you can just click this little icon there, little dice, and it'll just randomize. It'll just randomize something completely new for you. So completely new samples, different chords, and different effects. But where I find it really useful is because I don't want to lock myself to a certain, for example, key. I can actually set a key of, for example, D minor, and lock that, do another randomization. And obviously all the trap guys are going to go crazy about this. But where I find this is specifically useful Okay, that one's weird. So I still find some of these chords to be quite random. So what I like to do is instead of like mapping this to a certain key, I go to chords and I write my own. So this is something I feel like a feature that a lot of people kind of don't see with Playbox, and they just kind of brush it off as a, oh yeah, okay, this is somewhat usable, but not really. No, it is really usable. So you can record into Playbox and you can record your own chords. So for example, I just record a little chord there, and now I can play this chord, if I can find it. And now what I could do is I could just randomize the samples. So I can just hit this little icon here, and now I just randomized the samples. You can do that again. Again. And I can also just randomize the effects. How cool is this? That's crazy. And then what I can do is I can record entire chord progressions into this. So I'll do this major chord here again. I'll record the first one. So I'll do, excuse me. Do that a little higher. I'll have to reset that. Oops. Just re-record that. So that's the first chord. So you would just take any chord progression that you have in your song. And last one. And the very last one. Sweet. So now we have the whole chord progression. And now we can just randomize the chords, the samples, and the effects, and we get completely new like stuff. So let's just randomize that again. Oh wait, we have the chord still on. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, that one's kind of do. I think it might be an octave too low. Let's see. So that's an ARP. So I'll change that. How sick is that? So it's kind of like almost like a synth, but with really good presets. Let's randomize the samples too. And I feel like you can get a lot of really cool stuff out of this. Whoa, okay, that effect is a little crazy. And you can even turn off the effects here if you wanted to, and just focus on the samples. And you can go further than this too. You can go in here and just change the samples. You can randomize the samples here too, and actually have completely different samples for different chords, which is kind of ridiculous. That's crazy, dude. That's mad. Let's do that again. How cool is that, right? And then you can randomize, I believe, the whole thing here once again. Obviously, you could use this for color base too. You can like trigger some kind of chord pattern here. So that's Playbox. I just thought, like, if you ever need ideas for like an intro and stuff, this is kind of it, right? Especially with the effects, those are so high quality. Listen to that. But yeah, so that is Playbox. Now, another thing that I discovered while I was, playing around with my keyboard is that, especially, you can even obviously do this with your normal, like, keyboard you type with too. But the other thing is this little Max for Life device that I found that has hands down the best randomization, humanization features of any, like, MIDI-based effect. It's ridiculous. So I'll load up Noir Felt again. I'll turn it up a little bit. Turn these things around a little bit. So we'll just use the same chord velocity and major there. And I'll just play some chords. And what we'll do, turn that up a little bit, is we'll grab, and this is quite insane, we'll grab this device called, where is it? Deviate. So this device is called Deviate. It's free. You can get it from, I don't remember what the website was, but it's incredible. You can use this for anything too, anything that has MIDI input. What this does is it randomizes a bunch of different aspects of MIDI. So you can randomize an octave note. You can randomize the pitch. So every time you hit a note, it randomizes the chord. And since it's all still being scaled, it sounds quite nice. You can even change the scale here, but you can also change the velocity, and this is one of the big ones. You can do velocity minus, so it just subtracts it. So now you get random kind of velocity for each note. So it's amazing that it already has that. That's perfect. And then the other thing is the delay, dude. This delay thing. So this is with delay 0%. Actually, I think I have to save it this way too. I think I saved it a different way. So delay, what this essentially does is it delays the notes. And of course, if you've ever played piano, just playing perfect piano notes that just hit at the same time just doesn't sound very natural. So if you turn up the delay, usually it's on sync, you switch it to time. And that already helps. But what you want to do is you want to start turning up the milliseconds here a little bit. So usually you don't really want to go above 20 milliseconds, but usually not all of those notes hit 20 milliseconds of latency. It's always in between. So we want to actually turn this up to like 50. And then you can hear that every chord hit has a little bit of delay for each of the note. Very much humanizing it. And this sounds so good, literally so good when you start turning up the time even further to like something like 400 milliseconds. Just listen to this. Like, that just sounds like someone plays it. What? Like, what? This is ridiculous. And then you can really turn this up. And let's put this like proper tonal shift there. Let's enable the sub. And let's play this. How good is this? And then you can turn up the velocity too, so you get a lot of more expressive notes. Wow. Literally every single note that I press is different. It's ridiculous. It's such an amazing tool. It does take quite a bit to load, so it's probably because it's very very complex. But yeah, big cop, and it's free, so you can just get it. Sweet. So that was about native instruments. I'm going to be definitely playing a lot with this keyboard. But let's get to the next thing here. I have to drink some beverages real quick. Ah, Jesus Christ. I just haven't been talking much in the past days because of my sore throat. So me now coming back in here, it's quite stressful for my throat. Ah, Jesus. What's the VST that makes PitchMap work better? Also, have you seen Spec Ops by Unfiltered Audio? Try it out today and... Can I just talk normally? Jesus Christ. Okay, I have to kind of tone down a little bit because if I get too excited here with all these new plugins and shit, I just completely die. Gotta drink that herbal tea. Honestly, yeah, I have to kind of get a tea. I have a Coke Zero here. I guess that doesn't really help. I kind of have to get a tea, right? Hello, Gel Bass. I've been doing good. How about you? Okay. Let's get to the one big plugin that makes PitchMap better, that makes Retune better. All right. Let's get to the one plugin. It's still on sale right now. It's quite expensive otherwise. The plugin is called, drum rolls please. It's right here. Wait, where is it? I'm blind. I'm blind. Oh no, I'm super blind. I have too many effects. Where is it? Physion MK2. This thing is ridiculous. So this plugin is by Eventide. And it's a transient splitter. But it does so much more than that. Physion, I think, so basically what this is a spectral transient splitter. It detects tonal signals and it detects transient signals. And it does this really fucking well. So the reason why you want to use this is you want to use this to really decouple the transients from the main sound that is supposed to be pitch mapped or retuned. Because PitchMap and Retune don't do this quite well. And then on top of that, you can actually use this after PitchMap to remove a lot of the kind of like smearing kind of vocoder sound of it. And I'll just demonstrate you how this works. This is ridiculous. So in Physion, we have the transient effects section here and we have the tonal effects section here. And what I'll do is I'll grab a simple almond break. Something with some transients in it. I'll use this one, and I'll add some like background, like pad, for example. So we'll make it quite hard for PitchMap, right? For this plugin. So we'll put both of them in a group, and we'll play this. I'll grab the Physion MK2, put it on the group. Make the paddle quieter. So let me check that the volume is up all the way. Okay, sweet it is. Let me turn this up a little bit. All right. So the way Physion MK2 works is it splits up the signal into the transient bits and the tonal bits. So let's turn off the effects of these two because that's kind of what Physion does, is it also applies effects to the different parts. But we don't need those. We just want the splitting for now. So as you can hear, sound is unaffected if it's just running. But we could solo the transients and the tonal. And for your interest, this is the solo tonal. It's just a phase inverted version mixed with the dry signal of the transient processed one. And what we can really do here is we have a couple of options here. We have smoothing. which I tend to not really use because we kind of want it to be crisp. But it can be quite useful if you want it to sound less artifacty. You have Transient Decay. And you have a couple of like, I guess these are like AI generated algorithms or something. But I usually use general because it just sounds a little cleaner. And another thing that we can do is, for example, let's just throw in like a simple, like a simple chord, for example. Let's do something like this. Let's turn this one off. Let's just load up a serum in this case. So now I've loaded up the serum and listen how well it isolates that chord. That's a saw wave chord. And it just completely threw that into the tonal bit. So you can hear it's actually working. You can even get some like resonator sounds out of this. Look at this. But what gets really, really cool is with the focus option here. So you can move this focus slider and get even more precise, more extreme with one or the other effect. So, and this is actually a really good transient shaper too. If we just solo the almond break here, it's basically going to solo down all the transients, like that, for example. And then what we could do is we can enable the transient effects, and we can use like a dynamics one, which has an upwards compressor, which means that we're essentially just using a gate. Now, if we mix in the original one, turn it off. I think this is this sounds kind of stretched. Yeah, the sample is stretched. Let's pick a different one. Yeah, that one's better. All right, let's take this one. Great, everything's stretched. Is that just me? It sounds stretched. One second, what's going on? Okay, I'm just tripping. Never mind. But it's sort of the... So we can really focus down those transients. And just push those. And we can go to the lower one, which is the tonal effects, and switch that to a dynamics 2. Make it a gate. So it's a great transient shaper, but what it's really, really good at is isolating the transients and isolating tonal information. And that's what we need it for. So what we're going to do is we're going to load up a bass loop in this case. So I'm going to load up, where is it? Bass pattern 02, which sounds like this. I'll put it to 150. You guys can hear this? Yes? Great. And then what I'll do is I'll load up an Physion MK2. I'll turn off both the transient effects and tonal effects. And I'll group this. And I'll map, I'll go ahead and configure, map the transient tonal option here. And probably the transient decay too, but I'll leave that at 20 for now. I'll map that to macro 1 there. And then what I'll do is I can either, so this is the kind of part where you actually kind of don't want to duplicate it because it does take quite a bit of CPU, as you can see. So what we want to do is we want to create another chain. This is going to be called Physion, or it's called Transients. And this one is going to be called PITCHMAP. And in this case, we're actually just going to copy it because I'm going to be more in depth about this whole thing on the Patreon. I'm going to copy this over, and I'm going to map the same structural focus here. And then on one end, we're going to isolate the transients, and then on the other end, we're going to isolate the tonal. And then together they just sum to be the same thing. And now we can change the kind of the balance of this with a structural focus. So you can hear we have far less tonal information now, and if we push this towards the left, get a lot more of our tonal information, and then the other side just has those really clean transients. So now let's bring in PITCHMAP. Or actually, let's do the worst offender, RETUNE, because that has a lot more smearing. Let's put this to D, chromatic to minor, pitch correct all the way up, sensitivity all the way up, smoothing all the way down. So that's what we're getting with RETUNE. Let's call this RETUNE then. Let's compare it without. Put it back in. So what we can actually do is we can record this, and let's record it with just RETUNE for now. Take a look at the transients here, how they all get smeared. Let's record it inside of Physion. Whoa, I gotta turn this off. We're gonna turn this one off too. So as you can see, and this is not super easy to see, so let's actually kind of intensify the effect here a little bit. Put this to like 26%, 26. Record it again. Yeah, so as you can see, this is much more kind of similar to the original up here. Has a lot more power to it. You can even just hear it, right? And then here, we just get this bunch of like smearing happening. And basically degradation of the sound. Put it back in. It's a lot cleaner. There's a lot less smearing going on. It sounds less vocody. If you push it all the way, the structural focus all the way to the left, it's once again just RETUNE. So you can see there's no transients being preserved. But if you turn up the structural focus, we suddenly get all of that transient back. And let's pick a different one. I had another. So this is a really cool sounding one. Let's put this to F minor. So this is just RETUNE. Let's turn up the structural focus. What the hell? Listen to all those transients being preserved now. Let's just turn it down. Let's just take a look at the waveforms here too. Look at that difference. It's just so much cleaner. And you still get the RETUNE effect. But we can actually go further than this too. So what we're going to do now is we're going to, and this is something that PITCHMAP already has that RETUNE doesn't. So we'll kind of have to do it for RETUNE. We'll use Ozone Imager. So we'll load this in. We'll put a RETUNE into a group. And we'll create another chain and call this low and high. And this is going to be called mid. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up Ozone Imager here. I'm going to add 2 bands, and then we're going to solo the mid band. And that band is going to be the band that we're going to affect with RETUNE. Then we're going to copy this ozone. And we're going to paste it to the other side. I'm going to just move this down a little bit. I'm going to copy that over. And then this is really cool about Ozone Imager. Since it's this linear phase, we can actually just solo the low and high band. And then we have a direct kind of phase inverted option there. So now we're just using retune on the mids. I do want to turn this up a little bit, so 3.3K. So let's do the same thing here. And now let's compare that. So I'm going to compare this again. Just retune. And now with everything else. But it doesn't stop there. It gets even better. It gets even better. Excuse me, I'm dying right now. The last step that we want to be doing, and I'm gonna load up the bass pattern here again. Oh, that sounds really nice too. I'll change the E sub there. And then switch it back. Oh, okay, I thought that would work. The last step that we want to do right now is add another Physion. And this one is going to be the final kind of icing on the cake. So if you load up another Physion MK2 here, what we can do is we are already on the tonal channel, right? So if I turn this off, we're already on the tonal channel. So adding another Physion will essentially just try to figure out even more transients and the tail after that, right? So what we'll do is we can essentially just tune down the tail in here. So the gain, we can just turn that down, or we could just solo the transients. And now we're hearing what you can imagine is a spectral transient shaper gate of sorts. So what we can do is we can solo the transients here after retune with Physion MK2. And all we have to do now is turn up the transient decay a little bit, turn the transient focus all the way up. So we're just hearing the retune signal, and we're going to slowly turn it down until it kind of removes some of that smearing. Because what we're essentially getting with retune and with PITCHMAP, and this is something that people don't quite realize, this is also something that is different to, for example, something like linear phase, is that we're getting pre and post ringing, which is that smearing effect that we're getting, right? The transients don't sound like super crisp, and everything sounds a little bit vocody and stretched. And Physion can be used to both remove the post ringing and the pre ringing, which is ridiculous. So what we can do is we can slowly bring the focus here down. And what we actually want to do is we want to have this Physion inside this group, because we don't want it to be affecting the low end. So let's just solo this channel. And let's slowly turn it down. And you can just hear how it just makes everything clean. It just doesn't have that like retune smearing. We can push it to the extreme. But we're almost just left with the transients that are kind of left anyways. But compare that, all of that kind of like very smeared sound, and then just push it over here. It's all gone. It's all gone. You know how insane this is? Solo the lower band here and just listen to that. That's what it's removing. This is what we're removing. This is the kind of stuff that we wanted to remove. I've seen people talk about using Soothe to remove this kind of stuff. I've tried using Spectral Gate to remove this kind of stuff. But Physion does this correctly. Physion does it the way it's supposed to be done. Once again, this is what Retune does. This is what we can do to remove it. Now let's listen to the final result here, because we're probably very curious, right? So this is Retune with Physion MK2 to isolate the transients. I use an imager to fix it down to a certain frequency spectrum, and another Physion MK2 to remove the smearing in post. This is what it sounds like. Let's actually turn down the added volume that I added here. You can usually, what you can do is if you take the focus here down a little bit, you can just add a little bit of gain compensation. So let's compare this to just normal retune, okay? Are you guys ready? So this is with everything, and this is just retune. I want you to specifically take a look at this growl at the end. It has a lot of transient information. Listen to retune here. Basically, all of those transients are gone. Put it in the rack. All the transients are being preserved. How insane is that? And then you can obviously change the structural focus. You can push this even further. So, with that being said, let's try some other bass patterns on this. Once again, let's check this out. Let's try some other one. Let's compare it again. I'll move it out of the rack and then move it back in. Listen to how the sub doesn't quite have much punch anymore. Put it back in. Let's try a different one. Listen to this, like, listen to that, and now. Ridiculous. And what I've actually done is I've done a little flip here. I'm going to show you this, this guys. T-fade is, let me go. So do you guys know the track called Spas High Tech Dwight Flip? I think it was a flip. Some of you guys may know Azel. He did like a reaction video to it once. And it was a really cool track. And what I did there is actually used Physion MK2 to isolate out all the transients. And I'm probably going to just show you guys how I did this, because this is kind of ridiculous. Actually, I won't show you. That'll be Patreon exclusive. But I'll show you the final result. I'll show you both tracks here, because this is a really cool thing. So this is essentially just melodifying any track. It actually works. So let me go ahead and open up Rampage set. There we go. That's the normal one, and then this is the codified one. Sweet. Oh, and one more thing, right? Let's go back to let's go back to the space pattern. Obviously, this is retune, right? So retune needs a lot more kind of processing to fix it. But if you actually replace retune with PITCHMAP, PITCHMAP is basically perfect quality. That's basically what happens to PITCHMAP. If we now load up PITCHMAP in here instead of, for example, retune, let's load up the other bass sound again. So let's do 02 here. Let's go with D, natural minor, purify, or like high, like really high here. C, D. So right here. Oh, these actually have to go down now. I might have messed this up. Let me check. C, D. Oh, that's correct. Oh, wait, there you go. So you can already hear. That's PITCHMAP right here. This is PITCHMAP outside. Wow, listen to that, like smearing. Listen to the artifacts. You hear that, like quick. Put it back in. What? This is insane. It's all gone, but you still get all the pitch map. The Roll 2. It's trying to preserve some of the transient. Put it into the rack. It's just clean. Insane. Once again, because Physion is doing all the work. Oh, I think I forgot to isolate this, actually. I think that might have actually been forgotten. So I just isolated. Actually, you don't have to isolate this. Just turn this down so you don't mess that up. Once again, you can hear all of that smearing, all of that kind of like vocoder sound to it. And then you start turning down the focus. It just becomes clean again. It's ridiculous. Let's put it outside again. Put it back in. Now we could also add the pitch map low and high limiting. And this gets it almost, like this gets it almost all the way there, right? So this is like pretty good. But I did try this, it still does process the transients. Even if you would think that now all the transient information that is in the top end here that we're not processing anymore should be clean. It's not, unfortunately. This is probably because it's really difficult to put it all back together in the plugin. So having PitchMap in here, it just makes it even cleaner. Sort out this one. We can turn the purify up all the way. We wanted to. This would sound horrible if we didn't use it in the rack. But in the rack, it actually sounds really cool. So you can see how this opens up so much possibilities. C, D, E, F. So that goes right there. Again, outside. Inside. So this is the transient information being isolated. And this is the tonal section. Again, being able to isolate it there too. Just gets you the best result. This is basic. Obviously, this is quite expensive, so if you already have Ozone Imager, that's perfect. Just use it. You can also use, I believe, a normal EQ and then try that. But usually, since we're doing some phase inversion stuff here with Physion MK2, there might be some phasing issues. So you want to use a linear phase EQ. Or you could just use PitchMap's built-in frequency separation, which obviously RETUNE doesn't have. So we could just literally have it like, I believe like this. But you can see, you can actually hear it too. Whoa, it's still processing the high end, see? If you push it all the way up, it's still processing the high end. That's what I'm saying. It's like PitchMap would make you think that it's not processing the high end when you have it like this, but it still is. It's still adding smearing. That's why it's actually a really good thing to still have something like Ozone Imager in there to isolate the frequencies. So let's put it back in. We can just have this open, doesn't quite matter. Put it outside. Oh, huge difference. Now, the ending result of this, and this isn't actually its final form either, because I didn't know about using Physion MK2 at the end too, in this section. Oh, and by the way, you could literally just use, like, if you want this to be quick, you could also just use it this way, right? You could just use it like this. So you have the Physion kind of like splitting it up first, then use your PITCHMAP, then use another Physion. If you want to just be kind of pragmatic about it. That works too. But this one obviously has sub in it, so we don't really want to move the sub here, because we would also be removing the sub. But obviously we could have a separate sub. Now, let's listen to this thing in action. So I have this Spas High-Tech track here. Really cool track, by the way. And it sounds something like this. Some of you may know this. I guess this is considered trench. Now, what I've done is I've taken that and I've applied this this new method to it, and on top of that, I actually removed the sub because I was able to isolate the sub, except for the drums, because Physion was able to isolate the drums really, really well, and I can actually show you this too. Like if I just load up Physion in here, and I just turn off the transient effects here, so the transient. Look at how well it does this. Put it to general. So what I've done then is I've used the same technique that we've used up here. I can actually just copy this too. I'll just paste it in here. You can hear it swelling a little bit there with the transient, so I'll turn that up a little bit. And I'll actually remove this one. It's really nice because like Physion isolates all the cymbals and the kick and the clap. But what I've actually done is I've gone the extra step, removed the low end of this track and replaced it with N sub. So I actually play a little progression here. So this is my version of it. I'll just make this like bright, a different color there. Now you can actually hear like a really nice melody in there. And you can see the drums are still very well like preserved and everything. By the way, this is the original, just to remember. You can do this with any track now, really, because Physion will just take care of the transients and the post ringing. Oof. Okay, I think my throat can now relax. So that was about Physion MK2. I just wanted to put this out in the world because someone is probably going to find this out at some point too. And I want to be the first one to claim it. But no, seriously, this thing is ridiculous. I think we could even try and use this to literally just, if you have a simple, let's say a simple bass pattern, right? Let's do a little something like E here. And we just use retune. We want to use this quite simple. We could just load up retune and put it to a minor scale here. Also, I remember that I always told you guys to like either switch this one down or up and switch with this one down or up. Honestly, you just have to do it for one of these two. If you just do it for one of these two, the other one is going to sound like good all the time. Either do it for the upper one or the lower one. You don't want two dissonant notes, like two dissonant notes in a sound. But what we can do, also never use pitch correct at 100%. Use it at like 80%. What we can do now is we can remove just, let's say, the post ringing. So we'll use Physion MK2 in here. Now, we don't want this. We don't want to be processing the low end with this because obviously we have sub in there. But if you had like a track and a mid group, then it wouldn't quite matter. I'm gonna load up a auto filter, and we're gonna do like 140 hertz there. I'm gonna copy this over to the low end, and there we go. So now we have the sub isolate somewhat. We'll turn off the effects here. And we can now just focus on removing some of that artifacty kind of like post ringing. So let's solo. Turn it down a little bit. There we go. And all we have to do then is solo the tonal stuff. So that's all the ringing or the smearing that you can hear. And just remove it. Turn it off. Just becomes a little bit clean. And you can't really hear much of it here because we haven't really done too much processing. We probably have to pick a different sample here. Let's turn it off. You can really hear it here. Turn it on. Let's solo this. This usually has to be on the top. Again, we might have to add a little bit of volume. And we don't want to push it too hard because you can hear that sometimes it's removing some of the... Oh, I think it's just struggling to figure out a note here. Yeah, it's probably just struggling with that particular one. You had that one? Compare it again, turn it off. Oh, now we made it also a little bit louder, so let's turn it down a little bit. Listen to those first two. Yeah, it just cleans it up. It's really, really useful. And then obviously you can do it for the beginning too, but then you would have to group it, right? Which can be quite quick if you want to do it quickly. You could do this quite quickly by just adding a channel here and adding a Physion MK2 down here, setting it up some certain way and turning on down the tonal, maybe like that. General, turn these two off. So the transients here, copy this over, paste it here, so the other stuff. Wow, listen to that. Just retune. And then with everything else, so much cleaner. You have to be careful with this though. So I'm probably going to make a rack. Now this does use third-party plugins, so I usually don't want to do that with Patreon stuff, but I'll put this out there as a freebie sort of for anyone, so you can even get it as an elite, as a knight, I mean. But obviously you can just remake it in here as well. But I do want to make sure that it's really clean and well set up, so you can just kind of throw in either retune or PITCHMAP, and that's it, right? And then you have like 2 or 3 macros. Yeah, the high end is just preserved, right? It just sounds lovely. Oh yeah, obviously Retune does its effect on the whole frequency spectrum, so that's what you would want to use. I actually had Retune XT available too on the Patreon, which already does the frequency cutting for you, so you can just put but this also has desmear, which was my other solution to this whole issue, but I honestly don't need it anymore, so I'm just kind of like, I just kind of remove it. And there we go. But this does, I think this does introduce phasing now, since it is not a linear phase splitter. So might as well just use, you know, PITCHMAP on this, because both are going to be as clean as you want them to be. E, natural minor, CDE. After. Oh, this one actually does quite well. That's even cleaner. It's always funny to listen to the transients that it's like isolating. I don't think they intended this to be used this way, but it's really good. But yeah, that is about Physion MK2. I don't think I've had any other new plugins, but I do have a couple of other really, really sick stuff. So obviously we have another month, which means new Patreon stuff, which means, and this time around I actually did 2 Snap Heap racks and 1 Ableton rack. And I'm going to talk about these 2 too, because I feel like these are going to be quite interesting for everyone watching that is interested to see what these actually do and what they can accomplish. So the Ableton rack, and we'll start off with that one because that's going to be quite interesting, is right over here. What was it? NMS limiter. So what is an MS limiter and why does it look so unusual, right? Because usually racks don't look this way. So NMS limiter, oh, why did I put it on the Midi channel? Is a mid-side limiter, which means it lets you limit the mid and side frequency, oh well, stereo information, essentially, right? So you have the stereo information and you have the mono information. We've all probably had this once where we made a track, we listened to it on a, let's say, JBL speaker or anything like that, and we noticed how some of the sounds were really quiet, right? Some of the sounds were really quiet, other ones were really loud, maybe you had some phasing issues, and I wanted to tackle that kind of in a really, really easy to use manner. So I've created this rack, which, and I think this is one of the first ones to do it, really, displays you the volume over time for both mono signal and stereo signal, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see, the white waveform here represents the mono signal, and the blue one represents the stereo signal. And funnily enough, whatever Ableton skin that you have, this is actually going to be the same color, which is really cool. So you have the same color representation here too. And now, as you can see, so we have the limiter release option here. So you can kind of set how aggressive the limiter is supposed to be. And then you can add up to 24 decibels of limiting. And this is all directly represented in the waveform. So you can hear and see how we've really pushed that RMS of the stereo signal. And we can change the aggressiveness of this with the limiter release. If you have the release all the way up at 200 milliseconds, it's almost like a, and I kind of call this a vocal rider for stereo. And you can do the same thing to the mids. And what I've done here actually is for the mids, I've actually decided to not limit the sub, or like not add any gain to the sub. Because that's usually one of the main things that really keeps sounds from getting louder. That's kind of what Smart Clip does too, is like the sub just has like occupies such a long wavelength that it'll keep your sound from becoming louder just because of the sub. So that's why the sub is not being pushed. But the reason why you want to use this is you want to basically use this as a monitoring tool. Also, if you move the stereo width down here, it'll also be displayed, which is kind of nuts. You usually don't see this kind of stuff in Ableton, where you have a macro parameter after the fact, and it's still represented in between the rack. That's kind of nuts. So for example, what you can do and what you can use this for is you can reduce the dynamic range of the stereo signals, make it really consistent by turning up the sides here, and then turning down the stereo width a little bit. So for example, we can grab a ozone imager to just take a look at the phase coherency. You can see that now we can definitely be pushing this. You can actually like push this all the way in this case because it's all being limited, so it's never really going to be louder than the mono signal. So we can push this quite a bit. But if we feel like that's too much stereo, we can tone it down a little bit with the stereo width, but we still end up with a very, very consistent stereo field. And you can do the same for the mids. And I've noticed this was extremely useful. For example, I had this one track. I'm gonna load this. I'm just gonna load it in. 1 second. God, my throat is killing me today. I think I had the same thing after Corona. Must have been, yeah. I had an erosion rack with pink noise when. Actually happened already. Gatito. I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to go back to full screen. Alt2. There we go. Oscillator A. Oh no, that's wrong. Put it on the master. Put this on here. I'll just have to set this up real quick. Jesus Christ, I'm just coughing nothing right now. All right. We got everything. So this is the track that I was showing earlier, which is like a complex stroke track. Ooh, this got messed up. All right. So I'll delete this just so you guys can see this. So load up an NMS limiter. And now what we can do is we can basically monitor the whole like stereo mono field of the drop. And we can see, for example, in this case, where we may have issues. And in this case, most of this stuff looks fine. This is that little reverb throw in between, I think. No, actually, there's a little space here. I think we're losing a little bit of stereo here, for example. Ooh, another donation. What the dog doing? 1 second. Oh, Steven. For doing what the dog doing. Thank you very much for the donation. Where's my skin? Jesus Christ. Okay, I actually... 1 second. I'll be right back. Thank you very much for the donation. All right. I'm back. Thank you very much. That was really nice. Nice of you. All right. We'll get back to this. Another idea. I just wanted to thank you for the professionalism. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So, as you can see, this looks fine, but we have this little section here where we're losing a little bit of stereo. So what we can do is we can just push the sides. Let's push it like 6 decibels. Turn up the release time a little bit. And you can see now we've kind of solidified this. And we made the stereo feel a little bit more solid. Let's push it even further. And now you can see it's even more solid. Let's push it further. And with the release, you can push it back a little bit. Now you can see, compare that. Yeah. Look at this. You can see a big jump there in stereo. Put it back up. Now it's a bit more consistent. Especially there. But what you can also do is you can obviously just automate it. Yeah, so it's these 3 sims here. So we can just automate this to be louder for this specific section. And look, we just fixed it. That easy. That's how it works. And you just do this once for your drop, once you're done. And look how consistent the stereo field is now. Also, this is why I have both in there, because I feel like this is what most stereo images are missing. Is you need mono and stereo field representation visually. You need both, because sometimes somewhere down in the effects chain or like in the effects process, sound design process, you might have had too much stereo and you were actually turning down the mono signal. That's actually what something that happened to my drum and bass track on the A to Z live stream, the second one on the Patreon. Is one of the basses actually had too little mono. So when I was playing it on a JBL speaker, the bass was almost gone. So this is extremely useful for just like checking your mix down. If there's any basses or other elements, of course, that are missing mono or stereo signal. But you can see how nice we just kind of evened out the field now. And we're actually going to go in here too. I'm going to just up the stereo here to 3 decibels just to get a little bit more consistency. There we go. Just wanted that to be a bit more consistent. And then last but not least, I'm going to turn down the stereo width a little bit to like 90%. So a super handy, easy to use tool to just make sure that you have no mono or stereo issues. right? But yeah, that is an MS limiter. And then the other thing is obviously the two snap heap racks, and I got to show you this. This is insane. So you all know NSub, right? Also, I'll just quickly read this. Nazca was wondering, when a sound has a bad stereo field, is it bad to turn mono and then stereoize after? Weaker mono signal then? You can turn it mono if you want, and then you can obviously stereoize it back. And then with an MS limiter, you can push both to a reasonable level. So actually what we could do is we could do a little trolling. Watch this. I'm going to grab, and this is just going to be, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to grab an MS limiter. And I'm going to purposely make the stereo field completely like messed up. So I'm going to grab just a pen tool here and just completely mess with this. So I'm just going to add little like sections there where like there's like almost no stereo. So just completely messed up like stereo field there. And let's play it and let's see if it's actually like viewable, if it's if you can actually spot it in the sides panel here. Yeah, look at that. So you can spot it now. You see that? And now we can fix it either by just automating this to be kind of like compensating for this, or we could just push the sides, turn up the limiter release. And we have almost everything fixed. Obviously, some sections here are actually super quiet. That's something about the width here in utility. Like if you push it down to like 2%, it's pretty much gone. So it's really difficult to push it back up. But if you have certain parts where stereo is just a bit too quiet, MS limiter can fix this for you. Dude, heavy and melodic, perfect combo. Thank you very much. How would you treat a sound with what? A lot of chorus. Yeah, make it mono. So one thing that you can do, it depends, right? If you're using like Unison and Serum, Serum has a global section. You can turn on the width, for example. But let's talk about the next thing, which is the sort of successor that comes after NSub. Many of you know, obviously, of NSub. It's an incredibly useful tool to just quickly get some sub going in your signal. So if we go down to like D, I'll loop this and actually create one of those like really cool kind of like Skrillexy old sounds. So I'll do like some bam, bum, bum, bum. Slower. Something like that. Let's add a simple, I think it was just a simple bandpass actually. Add some phaser to this. We just gotta find the right position. Let's do some band plus. Let's do some end power. Let's do some EQing on this. Into the distortion. No, after. Let's try and maybe move through the wavetable. Let's remove that. There we go. Sweet. So obviously we don't have a separate sub in here, so we can just remove the sub. And we can add snap heap and add end sub. Now we have sub back in, right? So if we, for example, take a Slice Pro in here, you can see, let's just kind of clip it together here for a second. You can see we're adding sub thanks to end sub. Let's put this to 2 beats. Now, what we can do is with this new plugin, with this new Snap Heap rack that I released called N-Noise, we can actually add some really nice kind of audio follower noise onto anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sub. I'm going to put it on Delta and then turn on this parallel mode. I'm going to turn that off for now. And I'm going to add N-Noise onto the sub. Now, N-Noise already has its decay at 50% by default. So what we can do is we can either turn up the decay or we can turn it down. And one really cool feature about N-Noise is that if you turn the decay down, you actually get ring mod from the input signal. Which means you get this really nice crunchy sound to the white noise. Now it has the same delta option. So we can use that too. We can spread noise into stereo. You can turn up a low Q and a high Q. And so we can just mix that in with the delta and then distort it together, and watch this. Now we're getting that nice, crispy, distorted sub. And now, especially not just on sub, obviously you can use this. Other things you can use this on is literal basses too. So for example, let's take a complex wavetable here and let's take off the bending. So we just get an FM bass. Something like that. And this particular sound now is lacking in power. Let's get rid of that. It's missing top end, it's kind of missing some crunch, it's missing some power, right? Obviously we could use, we're already using end power in this case. We could use more high end, but that would be annoying. But we can also just use end noise. So we'll load it up in here. Just turn the decay down all the way. Now we can hear from the delta what this is doing. I'll turn the decay up a little bit. And then I'll turn up the spread. And turn up the lower Q. And just mix that in. And now we have a much more busy high end. You can also obviously put it into delta mode and maybe add some steeper So you can add a lot more kind of information to the top end. You can also put this before in Power Rack. So it sounds nice and crispy. You can use this on growls too. So for example, if we just initialize this and maybe use like a complex wavetable. Or let's use one of the growl wavetables here. Yeah, you're already getting some nice stuff here. Let's use a bandpass. Let's automate that. Well, let's just move it around. Let's move that around and maybe the well, we're constantly holding it. Let's move around the wavetable too. And then we move around. So we get a really nice growl there. We'll add a little bit of the spoozy. And then last but not least, we'll add end noise to this. Wanna... Oh, I don't have any. You have to give me a oh, these are old. Oh, you have one. Oh, not that one, please.
Oh, no.
All right. Throat is killing me. Thank you. Oh God, I just burned myself. Huh? Thank you very much. I've got myself some tea, British tea. Sorry. I'm gonna make this grow a whole lot louder because it's so quiet currently that you can't really even, like, the end noise isn't even active. Let's reload end noise. So now we have essentially just the growls. And obviously we have, let's actually load it up in here too, because that'll make it just really easy. And OTT, no, and power, and turn the OTT time backwards. Then we can delete this and power rack here. I think we're even getting sub, but I don't think we need this sub anymore. So let's just get rid of that. Sweet, so now we just have a regular as growl. You can add some like bend modes here. But what we're going to do now is we're going to enable end noise. I want to turn on the decay, so it gets that nice kind of like ring modulation to it. Turn up the spread, turn up the low EQ, turn on the delta a little bit. Turn up the volume just a bit further. So let's grab a compressor. I think the delta here is a little messed up. You can tell that the like past the last 20% aren't working. I'll probably have to update that. But let's turn it down to a point where it's really quiet. You can even put it to delta mode and then just put it in parallel. So when we turn the growl down, the bandpass, the noise comes up front. And when we turn up the bandpass, noise kind of gets pushed back. Let's also mess around with the pitch bend here. So yeah, that's what a noise is really, really useful for too. And then the other thing is for like, you know, like kind of like heavy dubstep basses. It's really useful to kind of generate these bursts of energies. For example, in the latest sample pack, we could use this D note here. We can generate some really nice top-end sizzle to this. So if you just load up N noise. N noise is currently on the whole thing. So obviously, since it's on the whole thing, it's also going to react to the sub. If we don't want that, we can just load up a multipass instead and load up N noise on just the mids. Turn up the low cut. Now we have a little bit more energy. And once again, if you put this to some kind of delta mode, in this case, we'd have to open a snap heap and a snap heap. And noise, turn that up, put it to delta mode. Let's use a slice EQ. That one's messed up. Thank you. We can do that. Now we have so much more energy in this bass. And last but not least, N noise comes with a fade-in feature. We're actually going to have to use the Psyscope here. I'll put that on there. So in this case, you can, for example, use any beginning of any snare. Actually, let's just do that right now. I'll take any snare, like this one. And it doesn't even have to be a snare. It could be something else. But we could just use the small beginning of this. And we can load up N noise on this. We can turn up the decay. And then you have this fade-in feature, which is a transient detection-based envelope that just fades in the noise generator. So if we turn that up, we're essentially generating sidechain, like a sidechain-like behavior. So let's throw that onto here. Take a look at this. And now we can spread it, high pass it. Maybe we'll put it into delta mode. Add some slice EQ. Maybe we'll compress these two together. So we'll use a compressor. And distort them. Actually, I think using a limiter here should probably be enough. Yeah, and then we can just fade it. And why this is really useful is because now what you can do is you can take the body here and you can just pitch it around like you want it. And the snares, the snare tail is going to stay the same. So this is going to be a lot more useful for drum synthesis stuff. Hell, you could even take a kick drum. You can take any kick drum in here. Let me use this one. And just turn it up until it's a snare. Maybe use one with, let's use a soft kick too. Maybe we can even take a bass. We could probably take a bass sound. You take this bass sound. Oh my god, we just turned a bass sound into a snare. Like you can just take some of that transient off. Look at that. we just took a bass sound and just turned that into a snare drum. We could probably take like a whole... Wait. I'll take this. Let's turn that up. Let's go to... Yeah, that's not gonna work. But we could also, if you have like this one, for example, turn this up all the way, or maybe like over there. We're just getting a bunch of different snare drums now. That's hilarious. Let's just make these shorter here. That's funny. Let's take the first one. Wow. That's hilarious. Maybe if you put a noise gate on the bass loop, then that could work, yeah. Have you ever thought of making an uplift generator rack? I have, but I feel like there's already really good alternatives out there currently. But yeah, and noise can be used in a myriad of ways. If you want to generate your own snares, this is it, right? Maybe take that bit, then take the transient from here. Wow! We just generated a snare drum. That's insane. And then we can just pitch this around. That's hilarious. Oh my, it actually sounds good too. What the hell? That's not even funny. And we can move around the transient. Dude, this is ridiculous. But yeah, so that's end noise. You can use it in a bunch of ways. One other way I really like to use it personally is on like really simple saw waves. So for example, if we build a really simple saw wave patch, let's do... Let's loop that. Let's turn that on. Let's turn down the envelope. I think we want... No, that's just... Okay, there we go. Let's make this a little slower. I think we have to... So something like that. Let's add a noise on this, and you'll see how nice this sounds on these like really transient, transienty sims. So I'll load up a noise right here. Let's store it together. Disperser. lost like 80% here. Messed up. I'm gonna have to update that after the live stream. Let's also turn down some of the distortion here. Turn down some of the volume. Oops. There we go. Let's add an OTT to this. Probably here. There we go. Just a really nice and gritty sound. So that's a noise. Extremely useful. But it doesn't end there, because I was messing around with Massive yesterday, because I actually wanted to do this whole Complextra thing here with Massive. But then I just decided, you know, why suffer through the GUI of Massive when I can just use Serum. And then I noticed that there was one particular filter that is both also present, obviously, in Serum, then also in Massive, which was the screen filter. So if we load up Massive, this is pretty, pun intended, massive. I want to go with a saw wave here. So the screen filter, I think Skrillex used to use this quite a lot. This is essentially just a low pass filter with a sine wave added that you can then adjust in pitch. So that would be the scream here, and then the resonance is actually a saturator. And then what they also did, and this is kind of really confusing, and this is, I think, why people really like this, is people would then automate the cutoff. So they would automate this. And then would get these sounds, right? These screechy kind of sounds, then maybe distort it one more time. This takes me back, dude. This takes me back. And then obviously if you use a different wavetable, and then maybe we'll do, I think, and this is something that people didn't really realize about Massive, but you can kind of blend between different shapes here and make this all sound quite a little nicer. So for example, let's go with a shape like that, and then the bottom shape is going to be more like that, so we can kind of morph between those two. And then we can also do it like this. Or we can do it like this. It would give you that infamous, like, kind of bunky sound that Massive is known for. And it was like, this filter sounds really damn cool. The idea is really cool. So yeah, screen is actually a sine wave. So this is pretty funny. If you, I'm gonna take off the modulation here. If I start turning down the volume of this wavetable, you just hear a sine wave. And if you turn on the resonance, oh, that sounds pretty silly. This is just a sine wave, and this is not like regular filter resonance self-oscillation. There's actually a parallel sine wave being kind of driven into the filter. That sounds silly as fuck. So what I've done is I've taken quite a bit of time to model this filter. and bring it to snap heap. So if we load up face plant, this is a regular saw wave. We can load up the new scream filter. So you have this ladder filter in here, just a normal low pass filter. And then you have a drive and scream filter, and they kind of work the same way. But I did do one thing differently compared to the scream filter and massive. What I've done is I've decoupled the pitch change of the sine wave from the cutoff. And if you do want the same behavior back, usually in most cases, actually just automating the scream is enough. But in that case, you could just put both cutoff and scream down, assign it to a macro, and then just kind of go at it like that, right? I feel like you have a little bit more control over the scream filter if those two are decoupled. So the way this works is once you start turning up the drive, you introduce the sine wave. You get the exact same sound as in massive. And once again, if you want to model it the same way or have the same behavior, just map the macros like this. But I personally find it actually enough to just, once again, automate the scream filter. But if you want to do both, it's extremely easy to do that with any modulator. And this sounds relatively simple on a saw wave, but watch when I add this to a wavetable. It sounds ridiculous. I'll load up any of the complex wavetables here. That's the sound that you get. I'm also going to add an OTT just so you can hear things easier. That is insane. That is an insane sound right there. That is ridiculous. You can even automate through the wavetable while you're messing around with this. Maybe we'll pick a square fight one. And then messing with the drive gives you so much more character too. How do you make a 2014 Zombie Dirty lead? I think I can definitely cover that at some point. Would you just be able to model the screen filter? Would you be able to model the screen filter in Vital? I don't think so. Whoa! Listen to the distortion there. And this is only dependent on the wavetable here. And I'm pretty sure you could even like add a sample and just have that be on top of a sample. That should technically work too. I have a bass glitch here. Let's see. That's a one shot. Let's do this one. You could probably automate this with an audio follower. Maybe this one too. Wow. Automate this too. Let's take out the sub of this so we can actually have proper... Why did it just disappear? Wait, is this broken? Oh, this seems to be broken. What the hell? Oh, that's weird. Okay, let's put it on a filter then. Wait, why does it just remove the... Is this because it reacts to... Ah, I see. Okay. Wait, that's so strange. That's super strange. 1 second. This seems to like self-sabotage itself. Wow, that's so weird. What's it doing? That's so super strange. Let's put this into like a snap heap. That should make it easier. In here, load up the screen filter. Oh wait, we're missing the sub now. Ah, that's stupid. Okay. Alright, let's just load it up in here. Because you would find some kind of way to send this to... Oh, we could actually just duplicate this. Add a filter. Hopefully they fix this bug. Send this to the sideband. And then load up an audio filter. Sideband. Nah, they still haven't fixed it. Guys, what are you doing? How come you haven't fixed this bug yet? Damn it. Alright. But yeah, the stream filter's up on the Patreon too, so there's actually 2 Snappy Bracks this month. And my throat has been relaxed now. That's great. Stop coughing entirely. Perfect. It's just such a sick filter, and you can obviously use this on anything post. So for example, if you have the serum sound, you can go in here, add Snappy. Wait, where's the scream? What's my scream? Are we just sorting? Oh no, wait. Oh, okay, I see. It's because we're distorting after the fact. I think we have to have it after the OGT. But we can actually have maybe 1 OGT. This doesn't quite work with this one because it's not a static note. Yeah, it sounds like Cyberpunk, right? This is all thanks to the noise filter here. It's all adding that nice crunch to it. But yeah, that is all the news from recently. And there's actually one more thing, and I've only just today got sent the VST version of this very particular thing that I've been wanting to get for a long time now, but I couldn't because it was out of stock immediately when it got released, and that is the Mini Freak. So some of you guys may know this synth. Some of you might have seen already that I've been using the Microfreak images right here. So the Microfreak I got earlier this year, and it's been my one and only hardware synth that I've owned, and it's been absolutely amazing. It has a bunch of oscillator types. It has a really sophisticated modulation system, really great matrix. I dislike the keypadding here, but the spice and dice was great, and the sound of it was just great. It just had everything you need of a synth in one package, and it doesn't break the bank too crazy. What it didn't come with, though, was effects, and potentially even a second oscillator, and stereo, because it was a mono synth. And now, a couple of, I think just 2 months ago, or 1 month ago, Arturia released the Minifreak. And this thing is ridiculous. So this is what it looks like. And the Minifreak is actually insane. So this thing will be, I think this will be the go-to hardware synth for any EDM electronic producers. And one of the reasons for that is, as well, is first of all, the price range. It's $600, which still sounds like a lot, but actually isn't all that much considering what you would have to pay for other sims. You know, there's some crazy prices that you can pay in the thousands of dollars. But what makes this thing special is that it's primarily a digital synth wrapped in a hardware case and a hardware kind of workflow. It does have an analog filter, which is great. But what makes it really special is that it packs almost everything that you need from a synth being in hardware. It has the Minifreak now has everything. It is missing one kind of key thing that I was really wanting, which was, and that was obviously available in the Microfreak, was the wavetable user option, or just the wavetable engine in general. That was like one of the key things about Microfreak that made it so special, is that you could use your own waveforms and essentially use any waveform that you make with the Microfreak, which was insane. And I made a bunch of like live streams on it where I was making bass sounds with it and stuff. And that's going to be something that I'm going to be missing in the Minifreak for sure. I do hope that they're going to add that to the Minifreak, because it's just such an essential thing that they had in the Microfreak, and a lot of people bought the Microfreak because of the wavetable engine. But I'm guessing what happened is that they were developing the Minifreak and the Minifreak VST, which is the Minifreak V, at the same time. And maybe they had some issues with wavetable oscillator kind of syncing up on both devices, on the device and the VST. So maybe they left it out for now. And I really, really, really hope they saw that people were wanting this wavetable engine, because if that comes to Minifreak, this is going to be the #1 synth for anything. So this actually comes, compared to the Microfreak, actually comes with 2 oscillators. It comes with effects. It comes with reverb, delay, multi-band compressor. Yes, they actually have like an OTT variant in there in hardware space. Ridiculous. A proper clipper, like distortion, different types of clipping, soft clipping, germanium clipping, classic clipping. They have chorus, phaser, flanger, delay, and they have like sub delay, like sub effects options too. So the Minifreak is absolutely insane. Yeah, cut off at minimum, not triggering the envelope. It seems. Which envelope? Oh, I think that's from earlier, right? But yeah, so one thing that they did already send me, which is awesome, is the Minifreak V synth. So that's the VST, and I got to play with it a little bit earlier, and it is really good. Even as a VST, obviously it usually only comes with the hardware, so you can kind of sync it up and, for example, make patches on the PC, and then load them over to the Minifreak. or do the other way around. This thing promotes a sort of workflow that is really, really fun to use. And you could get some really creative sounds out of this. But most importantly, the oscillator types that they have in this are really, really, really creative. They're really great. So I would say we jump into some Mini Freak V, and I can just show you what this thing can do. And on top of that, you have to remember that any sounds that we're going to be making in the Mini Freak V, we can make on the hardware. I think I just have to reiterate that. Anything we make on the VST, we can make on the hardware. I haven't got my hands on the hardware yet because I wasn't even able to buy it in Germany. It was just completely sold out. Like, it was just gone. The minute they released it, it was gone. I guess maybe they didn't expect to sell that many. Or maybe it just sold better in Germany compared to other countries or something. I don't know what happened there. But they've been just out of stock for over a month now. And that's going to be an awesome live stream when that comes around. But I'd say we do a little sneak peek on the VST and just see what this thing can do. So let's go ahead and do that. We've already went over so much that I don't think I'm even going to be able to fill the title of this live stream VOD. But this is Mini Freak V, also available as a VST3, of course. Comes with Mini Freak hardware, which I don't have just yet, but that's obviously coming. This is the synth, and it looks quite simple at first. Actually, quite resembles the hardware here with the with the piano, or with the keys here. You have a bunch of presets too, so you can go through those and listen to those. Might have to turn this up just a tiny bit. Let me grab a utility. So this synth particularly, you have to remember this is all kind of, you can do this all in the hardware. So any presets that you hear here, you can do on the hardware, which I think is quite incredible. Let's make this quite big here. And then you have other things like leads, for example. This one's quite nice. Oh, it's an air horn. You can actually see the multi-comp right here, and they actually, this is pretty ridiculous. They called the OTT equivalent that they made OPP, and you can see it's literally an upwards downwards compressor. So they have this in hardware. So you can even send in, if we go to template default, you can even send in audio in. I don't know how this would work in the VST version. But you can send this in and then use the effects from the Mini Freak and the modulation and everything, which is great. But let's load up the default here. So the main kind of attraction about Mini Freak is the oscillators, I would say. The oscillators are great. Once again, I'm missing the wavetable user. We need that. But as you can see, this is kind of what the synth would look like in IRL too. There's a lot more to it. Obviously, here we just get the basic stuff. You have, if you go to the advanced section, we open up a bunch more stuff here. Let's resize this one a little bit. There we go. You get, obviously, the oscillators, the filter, the effects. You get a chord feature, which you also have on the hardware, once again. Voices option with unison. You get two LFOs with different waveforms, shapes. You even get a shaper here, which you can apparently edit, I think, in the LFO shaper section here. So you get like a thing like this, which is pretty cool. You get two LFOs. You get the cyclic envelope, which I was using a lot on the Microfreak. And this one is basically a more kind of sophisticated envelope that you can really mess around with. It's really, really nice. I'll show you how this works in a second. We get the main envelope over here. And then usually, so on the hardware, you would access a lot of the features while holding the shift button. In this case, everything's a little bit easier to use since we're obviously on a digital interface. But this is the matrix, and this is actually how you would use it too. On the hardware is like you'd be able to move around certain pre-made routings, and then you can actually click on here, and then you can map anything. So for example, in this case, I'll map this to the volume of oscillator 1, and then I'll use LFO1 down here, and then move that. So LFO1 is currently a different shape. Let's make that faster. So that's how that works. And we can remap this to, for example, let's say the waveform. I mean, they should be able to make a wavetable engine or oscillator in here, because the basic waves is already a wavetable oscillator. But yeah, so that's how the digital synth works, and then obviously the hardware synth is if you've seen my videos, I'm not sure how they're going to do the macros in the hardware synth. I don't know how that's going to work, and I don't think the hardware synth has that many assignable macros. No, it only has assign 3. Oh, you have pages. Oh, sheesh, that's insane. Oh, that's crazy. So they even improved that. So the Microfreak, you actually only had 3 other assignable sections. So 3 other assignable knobs. It was literally any knob you could just assign and then modulate with these other things. Now apparently you can have up to, I guess, up to, I don't know, like 1, 2, 3, looks like 8. I have to drink some tea, otherwise I'm going to die. But yeah, so there's a lot of cool stuff here. And a lot of it sounds quite, you know, analog to some degree. But I wanted to actually explore some FM synthesis capabilities, if we can actually get like a proper bass sound out of this. And once again, remember, anything that we do in here, we can do in the hardware. So let's start off with some simple FM bass, right? So one thing that Mini-Freak V, or the Mini-Freak has over the Microfreak, is we can use the second oscillator as an FM oscillator for the first one. So if we go here to the basic, to the oscillator type, we get a bunch of different oscillators, and we can actually go through these if you want, but I've shown most of these on the Microfreak. We can go over to the FM-RM section. And now oscillator 2 turns into the either carrier or modulator. No, this is the carrier, this is the modulator. So the first oscillator is not the modulator, so this one's going to be FMing this sine wave in this case. And you can change the wave type here. So we can, for example, change this into a triangle. Let's turn the volume down here, and now when you turn up timbre, we'll turn up the FM. And then we can change the waveform here, of course, too, and then that changes the oscillator too. So let's turn it down. Oh, it doesn't like that square wave. It's a little choppy. I think it's because it can't really catch up here. But what we can do is we can obviously tune these oscillators independently too. So let's go lower, and let's tune the saw wave up 24 semitones. And then turn up the timbre. And now we're getting some proper FM stuff. So if I'm going to go to the cycling envelope here, or let's just use the normal envelope in this case. Let's tune down the sustain and then mess around with the attack and decay. I'm going to use the matrix here. I'm going to map the timbre and then modulate this with the main envelope here. There we go, that's the saw wave for a bit. Oh, I think I changed this by 5 cents. Sweet, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use the filter too. I'm going to use the cutoff here, which is directly the filter. Turn out the decay a little bit. And we've got our first FM bass. Do you recommend buying the hardware? Yes. I feel like if there's one synth that you would want to get, like one hardware synth, it would be the Mini Freak. Anything else is just probably overpriced to some crazy degree. Or the Micro Freak, but the Mini Freak is just so much, like, way superior. Way superior. You can also switch the filter to a bandpass. Once again, this is also the hardware. So let's use a bandpass instead. And then we're going to use the first effect, which is going to be the multi-comp. And now things get crunchy. Next up, we're going to use, as the last effect, I'm going to use right here, we're going to use a distortion. I'm going to use the soft clipper. I'm going to turn it off. And then the second one could either be like a delay or like a free band EQ where I take off the mids a little bit. So now we get a really nice kind of narrow bass there. And then if you want to kind of control the multi-comp a little bit, you can automate either the amount or the intensity. I think the intensity is the ratio, so let's assign that, and then so we can automate that really nicely. Let's actually automate the amount instead. That's much cleaner. Wow, that's incredibly clean. Okay. And then as the second effect, currently you have the free band EQ here. Which sounds really nice, but we can also use a delay. And now we get some really nice kind of like rhythmy basses. So we like mess around with the and now we can just really play around with the waves here, with the wave position, with the shape. We can add some ring mod too. And if we wanted to, let's add some notes in here. Let's go up to like 140. Make the shade stable. We can also go in here and change the release, the decay type here to percussive. But I think we'll actually keep it the normal one here. So in this case, I would, for example, use the cyclic envelope. That would just sound better in scenarios like this. creative using the LFOs, for example. So we can map maybe the time here of the delay, map that to an LFO. That's really simple. So we go to LFO 1 and we do very, very little, just very, very little, not too much. Make it, make the rate synced, and make this free. That is a fucking rhythm bass on a fucking hardware synth, bro. That is on a hardware synth. Can I just reiterate? That is on a hardware synth. We're doing this in the digital synth right now, but this, you can literally do this on a hardware synth. This is crazy. Can I, like, if, I don't know, Arturo is probably not watching this right now, but if they are, you need to add the wavetable user. Like, that's the last thing that will make this, like, literally blow up. That is ridiculous. Now we could also switch the delay type. So currently we have digital, we have stereo too. So we can turn the delay stereo. Or we can make it a filter delay. Can't really hear much of it right now. This one is really nice on like singular FM hits. Sounds really nice on those kind of bass hits. So yeah, we can turn on the intensity maybe. Let's use the second LFO here. So let's set that to 3.2. That's already set up actually. That's really nice. Let's put it to 1 right there. And let's cycle through the wave, for example. So map the wave here, and then we'll just cycle through that with LFO 2. Wait, oops. Is that undo button? That would be great. Ah, sweet. They even have an undo button in here. Like what? Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn up the sustain all the way. What I want to do now is I'm going to use the cyclic envelope instead of the envelope here, the main one. And I'm going to do a different rhythm. So I'm going to just do 2 long notes. And now, instead of using envelope to modulate all of those 3 here, we're going to replicate the same modulations here, but we're going to use the cyclic envelope. So we're going to just take these off. And the cyclic envelope, we're going to switch from envelope, so that will just play it once, to loop. And now we can change the 4 here. And we can change the rise. And we can change the hold. Yeah! So this is kind of like your LFO in a sense. Now you can't edit the curves here directly, but you can go in here and change the rise curve and the fall curve. I don't think these are not actually shown in the VST version, but on the hardware you would actually see them like change their X to an exponential curve essentially. So I'm gonna go like that. And there we go. How awesome is that? You can even change this to be like... You can even get some really cool rhythms if you modulate the rate of the LFO. So if you actually no, if you modulate the I think it's the rise here in this case, for example. If you modulate the rise and then modulate that with the LFO. You get some really cool. Stuff like that. Let's take off the wave one here. Let's maybe automate the shape here too. I mess around with the rise curves. Let's take off the LFO from the delay. And let's make that on the filter one. Yeah, I know we're getting some like more futuristic stuff. Hey, dude, that's ridiculous. Let's take off the amount here. So just let's do some more FM here. Let's go up with the octave. I'm sure if you just send that through like if you just send that through NPower Rack. There's obviously something that you can do too, right? So you can just send your Mini Freak into Ableton, send it through an NPower Rack. But it's not possible. Like that. Let's turn it into like a proper bass then. Let's add just a disperser. There you go. And the great part is too that we can, you know, we don't even have to use this FM. We can just turn it off. You can use some of the other ones here, like Superwave, Harmony, which is great. Almost has a little bit of that kind of. Oh, I might want to use a gate here. So this is like just because this was an issue with the Micro Freak and might be an issue with the Mini Freak too. They have this like noise floor. They just take that out if that's like fake. Just don't use it if it's fake. Doesn't need to exist. But yeah, the harmony here sounds great too. So if we just automate, let's say, wave 1. Dude! Let's listen to it without the post-processing. So in this case, I would switch this out for the free band EQ. And push it. It's just quite quiet. The synth is just quiet. I already have it all the way up. Might have to make it just a little bit louder then. Let's automate the timbre. Switch it to delay. I forgot about the filter here. Can switch this to a low pass too. But yeah, obviously with, you know, some additional post-processing, it'll sound pretty fat. And then we've got other ones like carpless string. So these are all the different oscillator types. You have V analog. Whoa, okay, there's some crazy stuff happening here. That was actually kind of sick. We have Wave Shaper, another kind of FM-y sound. Oh, that was especially nasty. Let's switch it to a band pass again. And we can also map the resonance here. The rise here. Where's the rise? Let's do something like that. To get a bunch of really cool sounds. This is a 2 operator FM. This is just sine wave FM. I'm sure this could sound pretty cool. Ooh. Oh, we're getting somewhere. Now, we also have formant. And let's turn this up a little bit. A little bit more. So they have some really, really creative oscillators here. Speech. Oh, dude, some of these could probably sound super sick. Let's add an end sub on here. There's no audible. Actually sounds pretty sick. This man is getting micro freaky. Actually, this is the mini freak. Let's turn up the multiband. It just doesn't stop because of the background. Let's get the gate in here. There we go. Whoa, what happened there? Whoa, dude. All right, that's enough of that. Yeah, it definitely feels lacks a little bit of power after taking everything off. We've got modal. That. It's also tuned. We've got noise. Oh shit, okay. That was kind of nuts. Let's use shape there. Oh, we already have shape. Where's it? Oh, I guess I moved it. Oh, it's nasty. Ooh. Let's use the cycling envelope on the volume here of oscillator 1. Just to get it clean. The RACKS. And you got Hummel. Which is also tuned. So usually it's like 0, 25, 50, 75, and 100. I've got audio in, which is the last one, and then oscillator 2 can actually also be used as a bunch of different filters. So instead of, for example, using this delay here, it's oh, this has to be. We could use the free band EQ. Make it sound more OTT-ish. And then let's use the Harmo. And then here, we're going to use a comp filter. We can change the timbre. Let's take down. What's the comp filter at? Oh, okay. This is the comp filter. This is the. I think this is what's it called? Dampening. Yeah. So let's mixing the two together. It's so quiet that even the OTT is having trouble to just push it up. I have to do some gain compensation, it seems, for this comp filter. You got a surgeon filter. Oh wait, something's changing here. Ah, that might be it. Okay. There we go. Time 2 is not being automated. There we go. So you have a comp filter, you have a multi-filter. So you have like a low pass with a resonance, you have different notch filters, which is really nice too. 1 second, I'll be right back. My tracking is probably ass right now. Alrighty. So you have like a notch filter in here, which you could use, for example, wave. You kind of how you could use it in Serum. And then, so you have a surgeon filter, you have a phaser. So I think this is the feedback. So I'm telling you, this thing is ridiculous. And then in the effects section, you also get like chorus, phaser. You have different phaser presets here. Flanger. You have reverb. You have you can also make this from a send to an insert. And then you have delay, distortion, of course. It's a really nice distortion modes here too, like a dual fold. You have tape saturation, and then you have bit crusher. So you can make probably some really cool ready-me kind of 8-bit sounds with this. Obviously the free band EQ, and you have a peak EQ, which didn't really seem to work all too well for me personally. I don't know why. But yeah, those are the main things. And I think we should try one thing with this mini freak. So I'm going to go and write a short little, and this is kind of like what people use synthesizers for all the time. And I'm like every time I see it, it's like, yeah, that's cool, but like you can do so much more with a synth than just a simple like, you know, like a arpeggiator pattern. But we're going to do that for the sake of this. So I'll do... something like that. We'll initialize the preset. Like that. Make that louder. We're gonna just use the envelope here. That should be enough. Let's already add some... so we're gonna use some distortion, and then we're gonna use some multi-rate compression, and then again some distortion. Yeah! Even just that already. The microfreak couldn't do this because the microfreak didn't have any effects. Dude, listen to that. Actually, we don't even have to automate the cutoff here. We could just use the envelope amount. There's definitely the germanium filter here that... It's also pulling up the noise and stuff. You can even try some of the other. Let's use the cycling envelope here and change the pitch. So we'll go. Whoa, that's ridiculous. Oh, last thing I'm going to add is just a disperser after, and just watch this. Just add a disperser into some saturation. Let's use the second oscillator to do some FM. Why not? You see what I'm getting? It's like we can get all of this now in just the microfreak. And once again, it's such a OP synth. Now, what we can also do is chords. We could do very soft stuff. And another cool feature that it will have on the mini freak, I mean, not the microfreak, is the chord function. So you can can write chords, and we can go, for example, with C major. And this is already doing it. And then we can also add unison. And I think you can switch the unison to be polyphonic unison. I guess it doesn't work with chord mode. Let me check. We can't. Yeah, okay. Sweet. But I think, as far as I know, you can have two oscillators and poly, and then if you have both of them just play the basic waveform. As far as I know, it should be playing. Let's see. There we go, unison. So yeah, so just having these two oscillators is going to give us a total of 12, I believe. And then on top of that, you can use Superwave, which is a unison wavetable in itself, or a unison oscillator in itself. So you can... And then let's use the arpeggiator. So I think that's in the sequencer. So let's just add some notes. Let's delete these actually. Pitch these up. So this is what the supersaws sound like on this thing. And let's switch back to home. We can add some chorus to this. Let's add some multiband compression. Let's add some distortion. Let's go to the matrix here and go to the cyclic envelope. So you can tell you can actually make like pretty decent unison with this. And as far as I know, what we could even do is let's turn off one of these oscillators. We could use one of these LFOs, and we can use the waveform, which is, this should have it. Yeah, sample and hold. Let's make this as fast as possible, go to the macro here, and then start modulating the pitch a little bit with it. So LFO 1. So we get a bit of that kind of like noise modulation in there too. Yeah, sounds great. Once again, you can automate the amount with the envelope. So we go envelope, amount. So it's just a cleaner way to mix in OTT. Let's add the second one. Yeah, it just works. Maybe it's switch the distortion out for the delay. Suster. can also go to the chorus and make that. So you can see, it just works. And that's what you can do in the hardware. Ridiculous. And then I'm guessing also, like the easiest thing obviously to do is Reeses. So we're going to do some distortion first. Then we're going to do some multiband compression and then another distortion. I'm so glad that they let you actually like use the same distortion module as the effect. That is so OP. Just that sound itself is crunchy. And we actually can change the pitch here too. And we can go into the pitch and we can change the band range to be, let's say, +12. We can actually go to the macro here too, and we can have the wheel. Let's see, the wheel I think is probably going to be the mod wheel here. So let's turn the pitch up here. There you go. And now you guys know what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn on unison. I'm going to turn the unison count to 2. Now I already got our beloved. Let's add some pitch bend with the cyclic envelope. And this isn't like crazy enough currently. So what I have to do is when I have to switch the distortion type to germanium. There we go, and that's... Okay, maybe we did a bit crazy here with the... Like, all we just have to add is like a saturator to this. Just to make it louder, right? And then let's turn this up 24. And let's maybe get just some movement going with the second filter here, with the oscillator. Let's make it a multi-filter. And so we can't morph through the different filter types. So let's see if we can maybe find a different one that can do that. We use maybe the phaser here. Let's make that one like move through. So go to wave and then alpha 1. And now let's get a little bit of low. I think we're doing a little bit of much distortion. You can also try different types of distortion here. also try the Bit Crusher. Some absolutely insane sounds in here. We could also use the multi-filter and then use the notch filter to kind of just move around. Let's make it a bit less. Let's also move the, let's take that second on the phone, move the low pass filter around. Let's make it free. Yeah, it's, I didn't have much else to say. Sweet. That was a lot today. We had way too many fucking topics in one live stream. But I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. This was a ton of fun. And if anyone interested in the Mini Freak, I will be doing, hopefully this month, a full live stream on it and just kind of show you around how to use it, what the little tips and tricks are, and especially, you know, just kind of show the world why this, like, why and like EDM producers and like electronic music producers should really care about the synth. Because what I've noticed is that, you know, I've been producing for over 8 years now, and there's only so many years you can just work just on a computer. If you've only been fresh into it for like a couple of years now and you still feel like you could just go another couple years, that's great. But putting your money towards something like this, where it's hands-on, it's hardware, it's a real thing, not just like digital, I highly recommend it. The microfig was so much fun. Gotta go, Nesco, keep crushing it, and remember to rest well. Thank you very much. You too. But yeah, I'd say that was a really, really cool stream. We went over a whole lot. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's live stream. Next week's live stream is going to be super fun too. And other than that, I'll see you guys next week. Are there any more questions? Are you guys like confused about the synth, or does everything make sense now? I'm really excited to finally get this thing, because it's just been out of stock and I'm the most impatient person on the world. All right. Well then, I'll see you guys around. And other than that, I'll be heading out, and you guys have a great rest of the week. For everyone from the Patreon, I'll see you guys on Sunday. Merch probably at some point, yeah. Once I have like a proper like EP or album out, I will definitely be probably doing some merch with that too. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the stream, and I'll see you guys next time.